I think it's very much a warning from history. That's certainly what I wanted to do with it. And first of all, to say that this has happened before and we know what it looks like, and we should take it very seriously indeed, because we know what it can lead to. And people have said to me things like, well, you don't want to be, isn't it alarmist to make these kinds of comparisons with fascists? And one of the things I do in the book is show why I think that's a very legitimate comparison to make. It's a comparison that they made in the 20s and 30s. But also because, I don't think you wait and see how bad it gets before you call the alarm. And frankly, nothing that Donald Trump has ever done makes me inclined to give him a chance. Everything that he does is so worrying that why would we give him the opportunity to finally expose some decency when he never has before? So I think history shows us that we've got a very dangerous actor, and he's dealing with very volatile and very dangerous elements, and he's treating them very cavalierly, and history shows us how easily you can, put a match to that kind of volatile situation, and it just explodes. I think history is there to show us, to warn us, but it's also there, I think, to show us that this isn't quite as anomalous as we think. And that's the other thing I want to say, is that this doesn't come out of nowhere. Some people think Trump comes just out of nowhere, and unfortunately he doesn't. And understanding the context from which he emerged, I hope, helps us, frankly, from my point of view, fight him. I just want to fight him.
We cannot win this war for England, regardless of how much assistance we send. That is why the America First Committee has been formed.
I had been doing some research around the ideas of the American dream and around the ideas of America First, and giving lectures and doing some journalism. And then as it started to gain traction, I would give these lectures and people would say, oh my God, are you writing a book about it? And I was like, no. And then I sort of started thinking, well, should I be? And then I went to talk to my editor and just said, do you think there's a book in this? And she said, how fast can you write it? And so I kind of dropped everything. And I started it last spring. So I wrote it in 6 months, 9 months or something, but it was research I'd been doing. And then just wrote that up as fast as I could. So it hasn't even been 2 years that I've been working on it as a book, although I've been researching the ideas for probably like 5 years. When he was elected, I thought impeachment was instantaneously necessary. He was so, to my eyes, so obviously unfit for office and so obviously criminal. And that's before even the Russian stuff came up. But now I actually think that he's so successfully politicized the investigation into him that people would not view it as a legitimate removal unless more evident. Who knows what Mueller will continue to uncover and whether that might start to shift the tanker of public opinion. But at the moment, I would say that our best outcome would actually be to remove him in the election in 2020, because that's the result that the majority of Americans would accept as a legitimate outcome. But then, Pence, and then if he gets indicted at that point, then Pence can pardon him. So, or and who knows what the Democrat, if we had hopefully a Democrat president, might do. So, I think that the problem with our worry that he won't face justice or adequate justice, he might face some rough justice, but is that I think we very clearly need to send the message that this kind of behavior isn't supposed to get rewarded at a very basic level. And if people watching this, and we see the way that Trumpist strategies are spreading because people see that they work. And I think that degradation and poisoning of the social contract is very, very dangerous indeed. And that's why I think justice matters, because we need to show that we as a society do not tolerate this, let alone reward it. And so the justice is less about punishing him, although I want him to suffer, and I want him to suffer badly for all of the suffering he's caused other people. And for, as I say, the destruction that he's wrought to a country I still love very much. But mostly I want him to see justice so that we restore justice as a norm, or at least the attempt to have justice as a norm. I'm not saying we succeed. The justice system in America is hugely problematic, but that at least we can see to be trying to uphold justice.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
You can say a lot of things about Nixon, and that none of them need to be flattering. But I would also say that he did have certain principles, And although he did break the law in important, serious, consequential ways, but there were certain, democratic norms that he also did abide by. And Trump doesn't abide by anything. But of course, the real problem in that analogy is that Nixon was called to book by a Republican Congress, who said, you have gone too far, we will not tolerate this, we will support impeachment, you have to go. And people, I think sometimes, particularly here, forget that he didn't resign willingly. He resigned because they threatened him with impeachment and they had drawn up the articles of impeachment. So he was about to get impeached. And the articles of impeachment that they drew up, as we're saying, already apply to Trump. So abuse of power was one of them, right? It was one of the first ones, I think. So the real problem here is the GOP's totally corrupt unwillingness to hold him to account in any way, when he's so clearly in violation of many laws and all kinds of democratic and political norms that are important norms. I mean, it's not just because he's being weird that I'm saying this, right? But I mean, norms that uphold the fabric of a civil society. And I think also people think that impeachment has a criminal threshold, that you have to have committed crimes to be impeached, but that isn't true. Impeachment is removal from office. It's just getting fired. And Congress has the power and the right to do that, to say you're not fit for office, we're firing you. So you don't have to be criminal to get fired, And but as I say, I think that we're not in a place where that would do America any good, much as I would like to see it happen personally. I think it would just it would just continue the polarization and divisions, and we've got a long way to go.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
He's made his jokes about being president for life, and and he clearly wants to install his family, and the GOP seems willing to do that if that's what it takes for them to keep power. So, who knows, in 40 or 50 years, those historians might not be allowed to read redacted documents. I mean, when Bolsonaro was elected, there were credible reports. I haven't seen them fully substantiated, but there were credible reports that he sent the military police into Brazilian universities to remove anti-fascist histories. So maybe historians in 40 or 50 years won't have access to anti-fascist information, and it will be Orwellian. I don't know. But assuming that we right the ship of state, I think they will absolutely see it as it will be like Watergate. It will be one of the great crises of America. But we have we have survived crises before. People keep saying, oh, well, we've never been so divided. And well, we did have a civil war, so we were more divided. I think that this is a kind of Cold War. It's a cold civil war. It's being fought with rhetoric, not with physical violence for the most part, but of course it's breaking out into physical violence. And those actors who see themselves as legitimated by Trump or in some way are incited by him, including the shooter in the Pittsburgh synagogue, right, who said that he didn't think Trump was anti-Semitic enough, and that's why he went. So the ways in which Trump can incite people are also, volatile. But whatever he does, it seems to end in no good, right? I mean, it's quite remarkable that somebody could be in such a position of power and so have such a talent for making everything worse. Everything however anybody involves him in their thinking, he just makes things worse.